It really sucks when you don't have a name for something.
For the podcast.
Yeah, like it's just a Vanguard podcast or something like that.
When we were running it before, we asked the community what they wanted it to be called. And I can't remember what they said they wanted it to be called.
So welcome to the podcast that we can't remember what you want it to be called. We're counting down to Operation Nemesis, kicking off on September 16th. I'm CCP Monty. I've got CCP Rattati and CCP Collins with me here today.
Oh.
Hello.
Guys, where are we? New place. This looks... Well,
I don't know. Some mysterious bunker in London.
So it was really interesting. Last time I visited, we did something, and we kind of went into the cupboard and found, there was a white wall. We stuck a plant somewhere, and we got... And then I, go back to my humble belongings in Iceland, and I come back, and I'm in this posh London office where everything is very elegant.
Very mahogany. Yeah, we've leveled up.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go around and steal every plant that was in the office.
Yeah.
To put behind us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually think we did one recording at Dev Chat where I was out of focus the whole time. That was actually here too.
Was it here?
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. I was in the sofa.
Yeah. This is going to be 10 times more funny when he realizes that he's not in focus right now. No, but
special filter for old guys.
Yeah, we're doing this for you, Rattati. But I mean, it's short. Time's running out. Operation Nemesis is almost upon us, and just to kick it off, CCP Collins, can you tell us a little bit about just what is Operation Nemesis?
It's the next battle. This is it. It's a war. And I think for us, like if I'm talking from a dev perspective, it's a real big leap for us before we jump into early access next year. There's a lot of the vision of what we want this game to be like when we are live that we're baking into this. The narratives that we're even starting to tell now, which is really cool. The gameplay themes that are starting to come through and the kind of the loops that we want players to play through and enjoy and the types of things that we want them to do. This is this is the closest to that vision that we've ever gotten in the game. We've been running kind of like events before and playtests. This is like a real early snapshot into the game that we're building for early access. Still a lot more that we plan on building and putting in, but like it's that first step for us. So it's really exciting, but it is that first entry point. We're hoping a lot of people who haven't played Vanguard yet, this is a really good time to kind of get in, play it, and start building that legacy, that kind of that part of this boots on the ground in this connected universe. This is the really kind of the first foray into that with Operation Nemesis before we press that big red button next year and we're in early access 24/7.
Mm-hmm. And who should join? Like you said there, it's boots on the ground in New Eden. It's something new. Is this just for people that have touched on EVE or New Eden, or is this just anybody that enjoys an MMO or an FPS? Or
I think absolutely anyone really. There obviously there's a lot of touch points for those that are already playing EVE that are into FPS games. Those that may want to kind of activate members of their corporation as well to kind of push some of the links across the two new universe that I'm sure we'll talk about a little more in detail later. But anyone who's just interested in MMOs and FPS games, this is kind of the game that we're hoping when we talk about MMO FPS, we're starting to build towards the game we always thought like is the dream version of an MMO FPS. There are a lot of games that have kind of got close, that's kind of scratched the itch, or they call themselves an MMO FPS, but really they're just like an FPS with a lot of people in it. This is like an MMO FPS, a lot of MMORPG stylings and callings and systems that we have in the game and how people are going to interact with each other, how they're going to move through the universe we're not sitting around and looking at Call of Duty and Battlefield for inspiration on those kind of things. We're looking at games like, World of Warcraft and PlanetSide and going, how does it work in those kind of games? So that is to say that we're building an FPS game where we're sitting in meeting rooms going, well, this feature in World of Warcraft works like this. That's the kind of game that we're building here. So I think anyone who's interested in an FPS and an MMO and you want to put those hands together, this is the game for you. And this is why we're doing this so early. We are in pre-alpha. Get in, play the game, tell us what you think is great, tell us what you think is shit, and we'll continue to keep improving the game with you with us.
Yeah, remember to at CCP Collins on Discord. Everything you think is shit on Twitter or Discord, you can choose that. But basically, what you're saying is that if I am in the demographic being human and enjoying having fun, I should definitely test this out.
Oh yeah, if you are human, have
Mouse and keyboard.
mouse and keyboard, and a PC that can run some Unreal 5 games. Which I will say, actually, for this game, some low spec machines actually are running this game really well. I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but looking at a lot of the competition and how some people are struggling to get UE5 working on some lower spec machines at the moment, our performance analytics is actually showing we're doing a pretty good job at the moment. So a big shout out to the Core Tech team in pre-alpha getting an Unreal 5.
Yeah, I was going to say, has
game.
optimization already just started? I mean, spoilers, I'm not part of the technical team, but it has like proper optimization for machines started already.
Well, it's always been going. We've got a min spec right now, which is on a 2060. But and I think the Cortec guys are going to hate me for saying this. The game runs actually pretty well on a 1080 as well, like a 1080 Ti, which is considered quite low end. And for an Unreal,
I remember when I paid like $2,000 for it though.
yeah, probably a long time ago as well. Now,
yeah.
But having an Unreal 5 game that runs at a pretty decent frame rate, I think over 40 FPS on a 1080 Ti is really good. So obviously there might be some more stuff to unpack there, but the optimization is kind of always going. We've always got our rendering team and our core tech team working to make sure that what we're making is performant, because we're a multiplayer game as well. We've also got servers running the game, so we need to make sure that those things are running performant. So optimization is a permanent process. It's in the forefront of a lot of the work that we do on the engineers in gameplay team as well. So yeah, it's a great job. So yeah, if you have a PC that has at least 2060 in it.
And if not, try it and tell us.
Yeah,
I mean, it's free. It's free to join.
It's free to
open
play.
to everybody. It's actually interesting that you touch on these points, which is just simply the accessibility. And if we just look at the heritage and the history of CCP, there is no game in the world as complex, as big, and as beautiful as EVE Online that can then be scaled down to absolute toasters. There is a reason the word potato mode was invented by EVE Online players. Like, there was nobody back in the 1900s going, "Oh yes, potato mode."
Nope.
It's literally an EVE thing. So, how important is that when we are pushing out the products? You're looking into just widening the scope. Probably sucks to not be able to join your friends or something just because your specs aren't up to spec, basically.
Yeah, we basically we want to have a combination of, like, it looks good, it's modern. We also don't want to get trapped in I would say super old specs either. We are a small team. We can't just keep making sure that like maintenance and all that works forever. We have to kind of draw a line and say, like, okay, today these specs, and then we upgrade them. EVE Online has always done this as well. We always upgrade DX9 to DX10. Like, we keep pushing. We don't spend our time just like making sure that everything works all the time. Just try to make it as pragmatic.
It's the only way to be able to run the
A
same
live ops game. Yes.
For all this time.
So we take a line, we take a stance here. We try to make it low enough to kind of, for sure, a normal EVE computer is enough usually to play this. Not maybe for multiboxing or in potato mode, but this should definitely work for your players.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we dive into specifics, the question was essentially that we opened this with, what is Operation Nemesis? And beautiful storytelling, the way that we frame this. But if we break it down to the spreadsheet, to the one pager, servers are live, access is open to everybody. It kicks up September 16th. What can I do during that time?
Well, it's the first time we're going to tell you a story. So
you just showed us you're excellent at storytelling.
Thank you very much. You're not just gonna jump in and just do stuff. We will be sending you down a narrative that will start with like a new player journey that we've built into the game. So this is just our first attempt at it. It's a bit rough around the edges in places, but you don't create a good new player journey if you don't get people in playing it and you get that feedback and you know.
So I just tried out like where it's at right now recently, and I thought so it was in no way could I not have done it if I didn't know the universe. But all the kind of words and things that kind of come in there and you know, it tickles the EVE player. Absolutely. Just
oh yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia, and you can thank Rattati for constantly pushing on the nostalgia element there, which is great, and we really want that. And I think that was like a lot of the decisions that we made was just about expanding the universe. You're bringing people into the universe and all the things that are familiar to that universe, all the names, all the characters, all the factions, all the corporations, that they need to still be relevant. We're not just hidden away in a little pocket or a separate layer of that universe. It is that universe, so it needs to be a big part of that. So the new player journey, you know, coming to life as a Vanguard character and going through those early moments of your first deployment, your second deployment, your third deployment, and being helped through that through a couple of characters that we've got called the Handler and Archive, and they're helping you through those moments to kind of get up to feet to earn your moment as a Vanguard. You've passed the test, you've earned that freedom, and then the universe opens up to you a bit, and we've got this system called expeditions, which players get choices to go on these expeditions. There's these different activities that they have to do, but along those activities and even the ones that they choose, you know, you can do an expedition with the Deathless, you can do an expedition with Sorrow, and lots of other, you know, factions. And this is about like bringing those recognizable names and that into the player's hands. Narrative is unfolding as you do there. You know, doing the Deathless expedition, you are working for them for a very specific purpose. They have you doing something, and you're unfolding that narrative as you move through that, and the choices that you make. So you have little paths that you can take along the different activities that you do. You're unfolding the narrative differently, but you'll also find that maybe you find another expedition that's working counter to that one that you've just done. At the end of the day, you're a gun for hire. You get to work with whoever you want. You're a mercenary in this kind of universe. But all of these different organizations may actually be working against each other. So a narrative you helped unfold for the Deathless might actually, you know, you see now that there's an expedition for Sorrow, and you're now helping them uncover some of the things that you helped the Deathless do. And it's really quite cool, and it's all connected in some way. And that it's not just about running around and shooting things. We've given you more guns to now run around and shoot things. We've given you more enemies to go around and shoot. But that kind of above all of that, having that kind of narrative and expanding the universe was a big part of what we wanted to do.
Sounds really interesting. But with the narrative, like would these expeditions or assignments, would you go solo? Would you go, you know, with friends?
You'll be more effective with a group of friends. So deploying with a squad is the way to play the game. You can kind of lone wolf it, but you're playing the game on hard mode if you're playing it alone. You've got to be a lot more cautious with your movements. You've got to be a lot more prepared for fights. Being third-partied, if you're trying to complete an objective by a squad of 3, you've got to be prepared for that. You've got to be building your motion detectors to make sure that you're capturing, you know, people, seeing them before they've seen you. You're making sure you have enough stock of biomass and ammunition that you can survive the fight. Like you can 1v3 people. Oh, definitely. Like
I know I can.
yeah, if you're skilled enough and prepared enough, and you get the jump on a group of 3, you can definitely 1v3 them. But being 3v1 when you're not prepared for it and you're not being cautious, you can have a hard time. So I like playing like that. I like that kind of lone wolf, playing it quite slowly. Like whenever I played PUBG, I was like the guy that always went in on the fringes, played hide and seek.
It was about the fun gameplay.
Yeah, it was all about looting, and then when it's like down to the final 15, that's where it kicks off for me. So like I like playing Vanguard like that. I deploy down solo. I stick to the edges. I'm hyper analyzing every area I need to go to, so I'm not just running willy nilly around the map. But the game is more enjoyable and far more effective when you're in a squad. Like we've added prox chat to the game now as well. Proximity chat, so like communicating with people in the world is a lot easier, and communicating with squad mates and maybe even hearing a squad bickering on, you know, over the hill is a lot more easier now as well. But like the Vanguard really is at its kind of best when you're either that solo who's hyper prepared and you're an absolute beast and you can 1v3 people because of how you set yourself up, or you are a squad of 3 that are just so in tune with one another. You're in a pre-made squad. You've got, right, you're fitting this.
Yeah,
I'm
everybody
fitting
has
that.
a role.
Right, I'm going to take
I think
the
there's
others.
there's one play style as well, which is basically like the non-combatant.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could easily do crafting missions or just stock up on an inventory or whatever you want to do, just by skulking around and doing stuff and actually not like avoiding combat, avoiding NPCs, just living in the universe and not necessarily expecting to get to like the end game or whatever. I think you can definitely just have fun, learn the ropes, even slower than that lone wolf type. You just like, if you've never played the game, do the MPJ, the new player journey, and then just like don't expect to win or anything else. Just go down. The loss of a failed extraction from the sandbox isn't that terrible. You can just go and try again. It's not as oppressive as PUBG, for example. Like you don't necessarily have to expect someone just around the corner. So I think it is. There's like a little bit easy safe mode where you can just like, if you just accept the consequences. But I think you're jumping into the sandbox 3-man squad thing. I think we have to talk about the PvP VE element of it. Like you may just be jumping down solo, doing your contract, kind of like EVE Online. You just like undock, do your thing. Maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't happen, but you can just like just live in the universe. It's not about like winning a PUBG match extraction game mode. It's way more living in the universe. Build up your inventory, build up your strength, build up your skills. Don't worry so much. It's fine in the beginning. You're not going to lose like really expensive things. You might, but you can also just choose to never commit any hard resources and just go down with your core 80 and not lose. If you die, you lose nothing, and just have fun with it. Learn the ropes. I think that's very important because it's sandbox with an extraction game mode. It's not an extraction game exclusively.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's kind of the way that you guys are kind of talking about it here and talking about the same thing in two separate ways. I think that it's not an extraction shooter discussion is very interesting and because essentially you could play it as an extraction shooter.
Yeah.
You drop in with your stuff, you just want to go, but in some ways a filament in EVE Online is the same. You take your ship there. Are you going to get out? I don't know.
Yeah.
But what you were mentioning here with the whole, I want to do the industry. I want to be in the sandbox. So basically, what we're, the picture that we're painting is, I am somewhere dangerous and I can feel it. And this is very much a sense of exploration while I'm doing this. I might not be there for the combat, but I am there for the resources.
Mm-hmm.
How many times has that happened in history, I wonder? But no, but like jokes aside, that is a very, very interesting kind of way to look at it. And I hadn't thought about it that way because I'm very much a PvPer in all my games. But there's one thing, and when you were talking about like moving around in World of Warcraft and those things, there's one thing that I miss and I hope I will feel while I'm doing this, which is exactly that sense of exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to see what is around the next corner. And part of that, there needs to be the potential of danger for it to be interesting.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's a fascinating way to look into these things.
I think it's in some way it's like starting Rust or Ark, whatever that game is, Ark Evolved. You basically in some way you start on the beach with nothing. And you're going to build up your strength and your skills, and you're going to collect blueprints and some resources and some bug meat or whatever you're collecting in that. Like that's your progression, that's your inventory, but it's persistent. Like some of it you may not even lose at death, like blueprints, for example. Like some of these things just can't be lost. So you are building up slowly, like an inventory of like options almost. So it's a little bit of a survival game in the beginning, just learning the ropes, but then you start getting into like, oh, I need to do some like contracts that maybe require multiple extractions. you're gonna need this from this map, kill this NPC in this map, or deployment. So I think it
And you're going to need to do
becomes-
business with the players that are actually doing the industry stuff. They're doing the exploring. You're going to need that to progress your weapons and build.
Yes, and
the
then
things you
maybe you
get.
get that social pull of like, that's a hard guy, or that's a hard NPC, it's an elite or whatever. I need someone helping me, which is not dissimilar to one of the like Epic Arc missions where like that NPC probably needs 2 or 3 players to kill him. So like there's like a social pull that happens also. Like you don't need to just like hard mode it, like have a squad of 3 and just like dominate everyone. It's like it's more getting into the game, and the onboarding is quite similar to what we've done with EVE. It's kind of, it is Sandbox. We're going to give you a thematic kind of like NPC onboarding. It's not going to be an NPC storyline RPG type of game. We're not going to just give you endless content. Or we're trying to give you railed content to get you into the game, and then you have the confidence to kind of survive in the Sandbox world. And this is kind of a lesson from like multiple years on EVE, but also from Dust. A lot of the complaints from Dust was like, I wish more people would play this game. We never had an onboarding element. We literally just put you into a lobby. There was never any explanation of the game, like the world itself, or your position, or purpose in the game or in the world. So we want to imbue you more with that kind of authentic feeling or realness, and kind of drop in these really cool narrative elements like factions or NPCs or whatever, and like just where you are in the world, low sec, high sec, all of these like just surroundings, immersive experience. So
Are we looking at, because like Collins mentioned earlier with, you do a mission and then you might actually, or a deployment, and then you might do a deployment for somebody else that was about the deployment you already did. You know, you do it for the Deathless, and then, I don't know, Concord or somebody wants you to do a mission for them. Are we looking at like, wow, the word just left me. The ranking of
Standings.
standings.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Are we looking at standings that can be negative and can impact you in some way?
Eventually, yeah, not for Operation Nemesis, but is a big part of, excuse me, the motivation of why we want you to do this is building reputation and building standings. And it's not the way we want it to be. Is it's the standings with anything of these organizations is because they're working against each other in a lot of places.
Yeah, they hate each other.
Exactly.
That's why we're there.
Earning standing in one may reduce standing in another. There's no way to complete the standing and be a perfect citizen across all. So that's something that we definitely want to aim for. Right now, it's more about just unfurling the narrative, earning rewards. There's some chase items that are in the end of some of the expedition trees, and you know, hopefully they're compelling enough.
I think actually we should bring it back even further. We've never really talked about who are the kind of good, bad, great guys in.
Is that
in
ours
this.
to decide?
Yeah, we should introduce the factions that we are telling the story of Deathless. Like Deathless is how you come to be. Deathless, the Deathless Circle, and they have made the first Vanguard, which are basically like war clones.
Yep.
X generation, let's say 3rd generation. But we are positioning Deathless as kind of like, you know, an upstart. They're an agent of chaos. They want like to disrupt the status quo. And the status quo and the kind of oppressor in this is being positioned as Upwell. From the point of someone who lives on a planet, Upwell showing up with skyhooks and mining vessels and kind of like very exploitative kind of like feeling. Or
But are you telling me that my PI is ruining somebody's life on
yes,
that planet?
They are
maybe you're
destabilizing.
absolutely
Think about
you're
that, E-players.
polluting,
Yeah.
you're extracting resources. Maybe the population on the planet isn't getting any taxes, any tariffs from it, nothing. You're
Yeah.
just exploiting.
I just want
a
to
colony.
I want to address the you players out there. Think about what you're doing.
Exactly. Like
You know.
there's always consequences.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, you'll find a pack of Vanguards who have accepted a contract against you. But yeah, it's really cool. Like I don't want to ruin too much because I want players to explore this organically when they're playing in Operation Nemesis. I want that narrative and the little nuggets we've hidden places to start to come out. But like, you know, the narrative of the Deathless is they're making some big movements. Whilst they are some upstart players here, they're moving towards building something that is going to be a game changer in the universe of New Eden. And certain organizations are starting to find out that these things are being constructed, and that there is actually the Deathless is more organized than they thought. There is this this high table of the Deathless, and this organizational structure is something that is going to be really important in the game in time to come, and what they're building is going to be a key player in how players exist in this universe, and having these little narrative nuggets, that the things that are going to be big parts of the game in years to come, even in Operation Nemesis, the expeditions that you're doing, you're starting to help that. You're starting to build that on. It's you're feeding into the early parts of the narrative of what's going to be, shaping New Eden and shaping Vanguard in years to come, just by completing these expeditions, or either helping the Deathless in gathering the resources that they might need in a certain operation, or working with Sarrow to help implant someone within the high table at the Deathless. It's all of these things are all starting to weave together and helping. It's all player driven, right? We write little narratives about how this unfolds and how players, want this narrative to evolve in years to come is going to be based on their actions.
Yeah, this is all super interesting stuff. I can already feel that we've gone over time, and I love it. And we're not going to stop here. We were talking about before this, the whole, extraction shooter or that. And this is a very actually common misconception, and it's something that I just realized when I started talking to people. Like, oh yeah, the extraction shooter is like, no, but sure, there's an element, and but that's kind of why because you want to drop in. So maybe if we explain a little bit the session, when you drop in, and dropping in is probably the wrong word here, but when you spawn into the sandbox,
Drop in is the right word.
Yeah. Okay, when you drop in kind of like
literally drop in from space, yeah.
Kind of like undocking in EVE or such. I mean, there's already a world that stuff is happening in, so it's not this whole feeling that we get of doing an extraction shooter or especially like a battle royale or something like that. This is very much just I am going to an area that is living basically, and I have a task to do.
Yes, and others might be there. They might not be there. They might be organized. They may not be organized. You may be organized. You may be coming in for a very specific purpose, or you may be just going to have fun, kill some dudes, or harvest some resources and
that's
go back.
Fine. That's actually one of the things that, like with EVE Online, I sometimes have the hardest time when I'm discussing it with people. It's like, yeah, but sometimes you just go to play to have fun.
Yeah.
You're not always trying to progress somewhere or take all the resources from a family on a planet with your PI or something like that. It's like you just go out there to undock and shoot something because things go boom can be fun.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of emergent things that can happen, right? You just want to deploy and see what happens, right? It's not like, you might have a goal, right? Like, I need this particular resource and I need 5 of them to be able to complete this blueprint so I can finally get that shotgun. But you might just be like, let's just deploy down and see what happens, right?
But how hard is it to drop out when you need to?
You drop out whenever you want.
Okay.
So that's the thing, that the game doesn't start with you deploying and end with you leaving. It has been deployed and it will end on its own time. So players can drop in and out, as they want. So you drop in, you might just kind of just drop in to see what they say. You might just turn a corner and there's a resource deposit. You're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was looking for. Pull out your mining laser, you mine it, and you're like, that's kind of all I needed. Put down an extraction beacon. You were on the surface for 2 minutes. But that for you is a success. And that's the difference here is we're not making a mode that is defining what is winning and losing for you. You are defining what is winning and losing based on why you deploy down, what you might find. Oh my God, I just killed a guy that was carrying this incredible weapon, modded out weapon. I'm extracting with this right now. And now I'm never going to deploy that ever again because I fear losing it. But insure it. Yeah. that is the beauty of it. And when we talk about, for me, an extraction game it's a mode, and it is kind of dictating a lot of things for you, and you're in it, and you're kind of doing the thing. You're playing this kind of, this resource game. But for us, there's a lot more to that. And whilst some people might play what we have now and go, oh, it's still a lot closer to that we're only going to keep pushing it, right? Like for early access, we talked at FanFest about Bastions and how it's going into early access. Once Bastions is in the game, and it won't be in for Operation Nemesis, sadly. Once Bastions are in the game, that's going to completely blow people. I don't think people can call us an extraction game when we have that in. We are effectively an MMO at that point, an MMORPG, planting players in the universe at specific points. It's not just about joining a match-made session. This is a planet in space that you are doing things and you are working together as community now. You are now in a big, multiplayer game with everyone else all working together. And there's elements of that in already, but like once Bastions goes in, that's gonna...
And Bastions will certainly be viewable, interactable from EVE Online. So you'll see these hubs, whatever you call them, and they may start having impact immediately. They may act like a little mercenary dens or like a thing that exists in the EVE universe that you may not be able to interact directly with, but its existence is now doing something to the surrounding.
But that's a great segue. What does Operation Nemesis? Does it do something in the EVE world this time around?
Yes, something very ambitious. So we are...
Am I blowing up planets from space?
Not yet. Not yet. So we have been asked a lot about what's the EVE link, what's going to connect the games. And the answer is everything and nothing. There is going to be no special thing that's just the link. We are going to build one thread at a time, which has either like one game affecting the other, or back to the other game, or some kind of dynamic connection that's tying both of them together. So we have, for the first two events, we had the insurgency connection, where Vanguard activity in the game actually either helped or didn't help pirate insurgencies on the EVE Online side. So that was a mostly a technical test to make sure that we could do this. The games could listen to each other and interact and kind of respond to those. So this time around, we're going to evolve that connection. We would certainly want to keep the other one evergreen with early access, but now we're kind of putting the focus on a new type of connection, and it's more economic. One I would say would be kind of combat, impact, universe impacting thing. But the biggest question has always been, what about the economy? So we're going to create a very interesting economic, I would say, experiment with this event. It's time limited. It's perfect to do experimentation. But we're going to see how Vanguard activity can actually influence some of the economic factors of EVE Online. I'd rather not say what specifically it is, but it's very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
And when can we announce that, or do we want people just to find out as it goes through?
I assume there's going to be some communication, either a dev blog or a further podcast or something to specifically call that out.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Me neither.
And it's going to be the first of many. I just want to keep echoing that point, like that there's not one connection. When Bastions goes in, how that's connected to the universe, we'll keep experimenting and moving the dial on economic. We have always talked very openly about our contracts and our expedition system. We're creating a lot of the expeditions and the activities and the contracts ourselves right now, but we want to move that in. It's a freelance projects, and how that expands into Vanguard is something we've always wanted to move to and been very open about as well. So these games coexist in the same universe, and a lot of the systems in both games have been designed at the forefront of how can be connected to the larger universe.
And I think probably when it comes to this, like you were saying, you needed the technical test. We need to see this is groundbreaking shit. Let's put it that way. The stuff that's being done is not something that anybody's doing, and especially not when you have something as large as EVE Online attached to it, like you mentioned, the economic impact. I'm just seeing so many things floating around like in my head now that if the tech works, is this a way to put pressure on enemies even by somehow, does that touch on the area? You can have a specific area of the world being targeted somehow that someone might hurt. Do we have like an underneath warfare on the ground while there's warfare up in space and all those things? It's just the opportunities are endless there.
So the dream has always been, can we make people collaborate with at least two teams fighting each other on both of these sides? So
EVE
can
players,
we have EVE players and Vanguard players, Team A and Team B, actually try to fight, whether it's an economic war, an impact war, or proxy war? Can we get people to self-organize, work together to beat the other side that's also comprised of a combination of these two? That's the dream. Whatever that is, that how we compel them to do it, whether we have, like I said, proxy wars, where you try to ask someone to hold this territory for you and that inflicts something else, or a direct kind of fight. Insurgency is really kind of as directed as it can be.
Yeah.
Team A on EVE side is completing objectives. Team B on the Vanguard side is completing objectives. And together they progress borders, moving back and forth. That's kind of as direct as it can be. It's lacking a lot of rewards and feedback and all kind of that kind of, but it really is, if you would want to, like, as we evolve this, if you want to win a faction warfare battle or like own a system, the best way would be to recruit Vanguard players to help you do that. And then the other side, the loyalists or the militia on the other side would say, like, we kind of need our own. You don't need them, but it's great if we can get that push, that pull, that social kind of connection.
Finally, a good reason for you players to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
just keep the chain going. Like, it's just super exciting for us. Like, I think whenever we've talked to people about this game and this opportunity of building into this universe, remember being sat in a whole room of press explaining the game and just saying, why the fuck wouldn't you want to make this? Right. So it's like super exciting for us, and some of the ideas and how the systems that we're making in Vanguard, how they sit in the universe. What does, territorial fights look like, across PvE, async PvP, and all of these things. All like, it's kind of like a lab feeling at the moment, and we can just keep experimenting with these things whilst we're kind of in some of these kind of safer grounds. Early access as well will, permit us some space and some room to try a little bit over here, try a little bit over here, and just build out that tree of connections.
We're actually forgetting the third game mode. That's the pitched battle. It's the strategic team-based gameplay. Insurgency has its own game mode where you will basically fight Team A, Team B. Classic conquest mode. This is basically, like, we haven't been clear about this enough, but that's a separate game mode that happens in the sandbox. You can simply avoid all the sandbox, all the crafting, all that stuff. If you just want to do 8v8 or whatever, 9v9, you can do that forever. You can just, if you want to relive some kind of like a Dust nostalgia feeling, you can just go do that with your core 80. If you want a better weapon or better gear, go grind the sandbox. But if you just want to do Team A versus Team B, you can do that the whole event.
Sweet. So let's just frame this to final. Let's summarize Operation Nemesis. It's a timed event.
Mm-hmm.
Kicking off September 16th. It's open to everyone. Yep. And primarily it's about the shooting. It's about the gun game. It's about the running around the universe, exploring, and just getting acquainted to the first stories of why you are now a war clone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So there you have it. September 16th, we're going to continue these now leading up to Operation Nemesis. Guys, thank you for stopping by. And make sure to drop questions and such on Discord if there's something you guys want to have answered on later episodes. But CCP Colin, CCP Rattati, let's go play.